can you briefly introduce yourself and your company, please?
Certainly, I'm David Campbell, the Chief Financial Officer of AlbaTERN Limited, a developer of wave energy devices.
I was just going to ask, can you describe the technology that you produce and what makes it unique?
AlbaTERN's developing devices to take the energy from waves and convert that into usable outputs, principally electricity, but also potentially, in the longer term, also fresh water through desalination.
And how is that different to other wave energy converters on the market?
I think what makes AlbaTERN's approach different is that we are taking a model that's similar to how onshore wind started out, with smaller devices, looking at markets that have higher costs of energy and developing products at smaller scale at far lower cost, learning the lessons which we then would seek to apply as we scale up devices towards grid scale projects.
And so when you say smaller scale, what sort of size of?
The rated capacity of the units that we're building is built around a generator sized at 7.5 kilowatts. So those units then can build up on a modular basis so that we would see something at that scale, probably maximum of around 300 kilowatts. Which would be quite a number of the units, and if we were looking at higher power requirements, then we would actually look to satisfy those with a larger size of device.
And are you actively looking at larger size of arrays? Or
we've done some of the initial scoping on the larger devices. At the moment, we've just deployed within the last 3 weeks our first commercial array of 3 units on an operating fish farm site on the west coast of Scotland. And we're then, later part of 2014, we would expect to be doing the development of a 75 kilowatt unit that would then build up into larger WaveNET arrays.
And what would be a sort of typical cost for installed per megawatt?
We're still at a very early stage of that, but really we're aiming to get to a level of around 45 pence a kilowatt hour, with subsidy in there as well, whilst we engineer costs down. We're seeing significant cost reductions because a lot of the components that we're building up are standard components that are used many times in a WaveNet array. So we're seeing cost reductions of between 30%, and the highest saving is actually a 90% saving. So we're confident we can bring manufacturing costs down as volumes are increased.
So is there any area in particular that the capital expenditure is a lot more than, than the rest? I don't know, maybe in the installation or the I guess there are no foundations.
We're looking to make savings with the device itself. It's a space-framed device, which is a very efficient way of using material. We've designed it so that it's easy to deploy, and you can see some of the images are showing that our small 7.5 kilowatt unit is transportable by standard articulated road transport. It can be lifted in by cranes that are already operating in the port environment. So a very low-cost deployment, and using also low-cost vessels.
I mean, would you be able to put a rough figure or a percentage on, the equipment or the installation or the cabling?
We are really looking for the project that we're working on at the moment to deliver a lot of that financial information on a commercial basis. We've done some modelling of it. We have some understanding of it. We believe that it is commercially feasible against the cost of diesel generation at the moment, as long as there is ROC support. And then in the longer term, we believe that we can engineer the costs down so that it becomes commercially viable on its own without ROC support, particularly as diesel prices seem to be continuing to rise.
And how big a consideration has annual O&M costs been? How do they compare?
Again, we're really at the stage of validating some of those. In terms of the strategy, it's been designed with most of the components that have a low mean time between failure are around a power takeoff unit, and that power takeoff unit is around 600 kilos. It's located in one of the floats, which is on the surface, so it can be lifted out by a small boat that is able to navigate into the array. And on the modular basis of the units and the devices, we've looked at that on the basis that if there is a failure, a single unit can be taken out from the array and actually repaired off-site.
And And what have you found to be the main challenges throughout the development of your product? Has it been investment or testing?
I think finding money for what is a large capital expenditure can be or has been very challenging, and that's common across the sector. The deployed capital to date on our project is somewhere between £2 and £3 million at the moment, which is significantly less than many of the earlier devices to the marketplace. And we would also see that there are challenges in consenting and getting freedom to operate, because a lot of that is still at an early stage of development, and at times it appears frustratingly slow when what we're trying to do is to put early stages devices into the water to test them.
And of that 2 to 3 million, is that spread over a number of different sites, or is that?
We carried out one deployment in a site in 2011, 2012, and then the site where most of our capital expenditure is sitting at the moment is actually on the west coast of Scotland in an operating fish farm site that is a new site being commissioned by Marine Harvest Scotland Limited.
And lastly, what was your motivation for coming along to the event today?
The reason that we're here and exhibiting for the first time is that we're really looking to network with a lot of potential partners. As we make devices bigger, we're looking for partners in hydraulics, in the electrical systems that will be more involved with grid connection, where there will be overlap with the electrical systems on our devices, and lastly in marine operations, where as we build bigger devices we're going to need different handling and specialist help, and we are expecting to be raising between £2 and £3 million of investment towards the tail end of 2014 to scale devices up to the next size. So I'm looking for interested investors as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
you.